Captain Teo stepped out of the docking tube and into the Meridian station with a tired sigh. The station was massive, a giant wheel of metal and light spinning slowly in the darkness of space. It was supposed to be neutral ground, a place where different civilizations could meet and talk without fighting. That was the theory anyway. He had been sent here to negotiate with the Dominion, a powerful group that ruled many star systems and wanted to rule even more. They had been making demands on human space for months. Teo's job was to convince them to be reasonable. It was a job that made him feel very tired, even before it started. Hai-Ji, his assistant, walked beside him, pulling their luggage behind them. She was young and sharp, with quick eyes that noticed everything. She had been with Teo for 3 years, and she was probably his best friend in the diplomatic service. "The station looks impressive," Hai-Ji said, looking up at the tall ceilings and the beautiful views of space through the windows. "It looks like every other space station I have ever visited," Teo replied. "And I have visited many. They all feel the same, empty, lonely, wrong." Hai-Ji smiled. She knew what Teo really wanted. "Come on, Captain. The first thing we should do is find the dining area. Maybe they have decent coffee here." Teo's eyes lit up. It was not much of a dream, but it was his dream. For years, he had searched for good coffee among the stars. Most space stations had coffee that tasted like burned plastic and sadness. Teo had made it his personal mission to find something better. They found Commander Kyung-soo waiting for them at the Welcome Center. He was the head of the station's security force, a broad man with a serious face and military bearing. He shook Teo's hand with a firm grip. "Welcome to Meridian Station," Kyung-soo said. "I hope your journey was comfortable." "Long," Teo said. "Like all space journeys. Tell me, Commander, where can a person find a decent cup of coffee on this station?" Kyung-soo's expression did not change. "The main cafe is on level 7. They try their best, though nothing ever seems to satisfy travelers." Teo and Hai-Ji exchanged a look. It was the same everywhere. The main cafe was crowded with traders, workers, and travelers from dozens of different worlds. Some had skin like metal. Others had too many eyes or too many tentacles. The cafe smelled like cooked food and energy drinks. Behind the counter, an alien with blue skin worked the coffee machine. Teo ordered a medium black coffee. The blue alien made it quickly and handed it over. Teo took a sip and closed his eyes. It was warm and bitter and disappointing, just like every other cup. "Not good?" Hai-Ji asked. "Not good," Teo confirmed. They settled into their quarters, a comfortable suite on the diplomatic level. From their window, they could see the vast emptiness of space and the distant stars. Teo stood there for a long time holding his terrible coffee, thinking about home. The next morning, Teo met with Supreme Legate Vorsh, the leader of the Dominion's delegation. Vorsh was tall and impressive, with skin that seemed to change color in the light. He had 4 arms and eyes that glowed faintly green. He carried himself like someone who had never doubted anything in his entire life. "Captain Teo," Vorsh said, his voice deep and smooth like distant thunder. "I have read your record. You have been a diplomat for many years. You have negotiated many deals. This is good. Perhaps you will understand that some things are not open to negotiation." Teo felt the weight of these words. "Your Excellency, the human government believes that all matters can be discussed. We are interested in peaceful solutions." Vorsh's green eyes seemed to grow brighter. "Peace is what we seek, and what brings peace is order, strength. The Dominion maintains peace through strength. The galaxy respects strength. Your species is young in the stars. You are still learning how to behave." The meeting lasted 3 hours. Vorsh presented what he called a treaty, but it was really a list of demands. The Dominion wanted humans to leave 3 important star systems. They wanted to control human trade in certain regions. They wanted access to human military knowledge. Each demand was presented as if it was something obvious that any reasonable person would accept. Teo refused each one, but he did it carefully, with polite words and careful explanations. Vorsh seemed amused by this. He smiled with teeth that were too white and too sharp. "You will think about these points," Vorsh said as they finished. "We will meet again in 3 days. I suggest you use those 3 days to help your government understand that cooperation with the Dominion is not optional." That evening, Teo sat in his quarters with Haiji. She had been working with the station's communication system, and she had discovered something interesting. "I found something strange," she said quietly. 3 days ago, Vorsh sent an encrypted message outside the station. I could not read the code, but the message was very long and very focused. It went to a Dominion military base in the outer sectors." Teo felt something cold move down his back. "What are you saying?" "I think," Haiji said slowly, "that maybe they are planning something. The message was encrypted with military codes. Military, not diplomatic." Teo stood and walked to the window. He looked out at the stars and felt afraid. It was a feeling he did not like. He had been trained to stay calm, to think clearly, to find solutions through words. But words only worked if the other person wanted to listen, and Vorsh did not seem like someone who wanted to listen to words. That night, Teo could not sleep. He walked through the station's empty halls, trying to find a place to sit alone. He ended up back at the cafe. The blue alien was restocking shelves, preparing for the morning rush. "Cannot sleep?" the alien asked. "Too much thinking," Teo said. "Too much worry." The alien nodded as if he understood perfectly. "I am Kethamol. I have worked in this cafe for 4 years. I see many people. Many come in with worries. Most of them go away. Some new problems arrive. This is life." Teo bought another cup of coffee, even though he knew it would be disappointing. He sat by the window and watched the stars rotate slowly as the station spun through the darkness. He thought about home. He thought about his family, who had been proud when he became a diplomat. He thought about the children who lived in the cities near the space docks, children who looked up at the stars and dreamed of traveling to them someday. He thought about what it would mean if the Dominion took over the systems humanity needed to grow and survive. In 3 days, he would meet with Vorsh again. In 3 days, he would have to refuse more demands. And Teo had a feeling, a deep feeling in his bones, that Vorsh had plans that had nothing to do with negotiation. The coffee was cold now. Teo drank the last of it anyway. He stood, thanked Kethamol, and returned to his quarters to wait for morning. Tomorrow he would send messages to human government. He would warn them. He would tell them to prepare for war, even though he hoped war would never come. But the feeling in his bones grew stronger as the night grew darker. War was coming. Teo was sure of it now, and it would come sooner than anyone expected. The explosion woke Teo at 3 in the morning. It was not a big explosion, just a vibration that ran through the station like a wave. For a moment, he thought he was dreaming. Then the alarm began to sound. Red lights flashed through the corridors as Teo ran toward the command center. People rushed past him, some running toward danger and some running away from it. An automated voice kept repeating the same words. "All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill." Haiji was already at the command center when he arrived. She stood near a large display screen that showed the space around Meridian Station. And there, like wolves circling a wounded animal, were the Dominion warships. There were 12 of them, huge dark shapes against the stars. Their weapons were charged and ready. On the screen, a message began to appear, broadcast on every frequency at once. "This is Commander Tsek of the Dominion military," a harsh voice said. "Meridian Station is now under Dominion authority. All human personnel will surrender immediately. Your ships are disabled. Your communications are jammed. You cannot escape. Surrender now, and your people will live. Resist, and you will all die." Commander Kyung-soo stood at the center of the room, his face very calm. He was talking rapidly to his officers, giving orders about activating defense systems and organizing evacuations. When he saw Tae-oh, he waved him over. "The situation is bad," Kyung-soo said without any extra words. "They hit our communication array first. That is why we did not see them coming. Our sensors had been jammed for at least an hour." "Can we escape?" Tae-oh asked. "No," Kyung-soo said. "Their ships are too close. They can destroy any vessel we launch, but we can defend the station. I have people working on it now. We have weapons. We have shields. We can hold them long enough for help to arrive." "How long?" Tae-oh asked. "That depends on how long until someone hears our distress signal," Kyung-soo replied. "I sent it before they jammed us. If we are lucky, human ships will arrive in weeks. If we are unlucky, they will arrive in months, or never." Through the command center window, Tae-oh could see one of the Dominion warships moving closer. Smaller weapon pods on its surface were moving, aiming toward the station. Kyung-soo noticed and shouted an order. The station's defense systems came alive with a grinding sound, and green light beams shot out into space. They hit the Dominion ship, but the damage was small. The Dominion ship was made of something very thick. Its shields held most of the energy of the attack. The warship fired back, and the station shook violently. Alarms began screaming again. In the distance, something exploded with a sound that Tae-oh felt in his teeth. "We are losing shield power on the eastern section," an officer reported. "Multiple hull breaches on levels 12 and 13. "Close the bulkheads," Kyung-soo ordered. "Evacuate those levels." Another Dominion ship began firing. This time, the weapons hit harder. Tae-oh grabbed onto a railing as the entire station tilted. People fell to the ground. One officer hit his head on a wall and did not get up again. Hai-ji was at the communication console, sending messages even though she knew they could not reach anyone. It was something to do, something to keep her hands moving and her mind busy. Then something unexpected happened. A scientist named Dr. Namra pushed her way into the command center. She was from the Quasar species, small and gray-skinned, with large eyes that were wide with fear and excitement. "I have information," she said breathlessly, "about the Dominion fleet composition. I have been studying their ships for months. I know their weaknesses." Kyung-soo looked at her with new interest. "Tell me." "Their shields are strong, but they are linked by a central system on each ship," Namra explained quickly. "If you can overload one part of the shield system, all the systems on that ship will fail for approximately 5 seconds. It will be enough time to damage critical systems." Kyung-soo nodded and turned to his weapons officer. "Calculate this pattern. Send it to all defensive batteries. We will try this on the next attack." They did not have to wait long. The Dominion ships attacked again, moving in like sharks attracted to blood. This time, the station's defense fired differently. The energy beams targeted one specific spot on one ship, over and over, focusing all their power on one place. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then suddenly, the Dominion ship's shields collapsed. The station fired everything it had at that moment. Great weapons that had been hidden in the station's structure for 100 years came alive and sent massive beams of pure energy into the Dominion ship. The ship tried to activate its shields again, but something was broken. The energy found its mark. The Dominion warship's propulsion system exploded in a cascade of light. The ship began to break apart, its pieces tumbling into the vast darkness of space. Dominion soldiers and equipment and strange machinery fell out into the void. It was victory, but it felt very small against the 11 remaining warships. A young officer named Lieutenant Ji-woo was coordinating one of the defense stations. He shouted with excitement when he saw the Dominion ship destroyed. "We got one! We can do this! We can really do this!" But then the Dominion warships moved closer, forming a tight circle around the station. Their weapons powered up, and Teo knew that a much bigger attack was coming. "Send the distress signal again," Teo told Haiji. "Send it on every frequency. Send it as a repeating message. Make sure that if anyone, anywhere is listening, they will hear us." "They have jammed our communications," Haiji said. "Then send it anyway," Teo replied. "Amplify it. Push it through their jamming if you can. We need help, and the only way to get it is to keep asking." Heiji worked frantically at the console, using every trick she knew about communication systems. She routed power from all non-essential systems into the communications array. She pushed energy through it in pulses, trying to break through the Dominion jamming, like pushing water through a dam that was full of holes. Commander Kyung-soo began preparing for the next attack. He organized his people into groups. Some would fight at the weapons stations. Others would prepare to evacuate critical staff if the station was damaged too badly. Some would work on repairs, trying to keep everything running. "Gather your people," Kyung-soo told Teo. "Get to evacuation deck 3. If things go very bad, you and any remaining diplomatic staff will board escape pods." "And you?" Teo asked. "I will be here," Kyung-soo said simply, "as long as I can be." The next attack came like the hammer of an angry god. Multiple Dominion ships fired at once, concentrated beams of energy that shattered the station's shields in seconds. The impacts were enormous. The entire station convulsed like something alive and in terrible pain. Teo was thrown to the ground. The air knocked from his lungs. Around him things fell and broke. People screamed. But Haiji was still at her console. She was typing something, singing a song under her breath, refusing to give up even as the whole world fell apart around her. And then something happened that changed everything. A message came through on a human emergency frequency. It was weak and broken, but it was real. "Meridian Station, this is Captain Huan Su of the Human Fleet. We are receiving your signal. We are coming. Hold on, we are coming." And that message, fragile as it was, gave everyone hope to continue fighting through the darkness ahead. 3 days passed. The Dominion did not attack again. Instead, they simply held the station in their grasp, cutting off supplies one by one. First, they shut down the water system. Then, the power. Then the external food shipments. It was not violence with fire and explosions. It was violence with silence and darkness and slow suffering. Teo moved through the dimly lit corridors of Meridian Station, conserving energy and conserving hope. Around him, people worked in the shadows, doing what had to be done. Some were repairing damaged systems. Others were organizing food and water supplies, making sure that nothing was wasted. In the hydroponics bay on level 5, something unexpected grew. A small coffee plant, green and alive, sat under an emergency light. Captain Su-jin had found it in the agricultural storage section. She was a salvage operator who had been stranded on the station when the attack began, her ship destroyed in the first volley. She was tough and quiet, with the kind of hands that could fix anything that was broken. "Coffee," Teo said when she showed it to him. "Of all the things to keep alive, you keep coffee." "People need hope," Su-jin replied. She was maintaining the plant carefully, giving it precious water that could have been used for drinking. Coffee is hope, small hope, but hope. Teo smiled for the first time since the siege began. "You are a good person, Captain Su-jin." In the command center, Haiji and Dr. Namra had become partners of a kind. They worked together, trying to decode the encrypted messages that the Dominion sent to its fleet. Namra had moved fully into the human section of the station, turning her back on the Dominion. She had explained that she was a scientist, not a soldier. She believed in facts and evidence. The Dominion's lies about the attack offended her scientific mind. "I found something," Namra said one evening, her large eyes excited. She showed Hai-Ji several pages of decoded messages. "There is something coming, something that even the Dominion fears. It is mentioned in 3 different messages, and each time the Dominion commanders become angry when it is discussed." "What is it?" Hai-Ji asked. "I do not know yet," Namra replied, "but it is approaching from deep space. The Dominion has moved some ships to watch for it. They seem very worried." Hai-Ji reported this to Tayo and Kyung-Soo. If something else was coming, something powerful enough to make the Dominion nervous, then maybe, just maybe, it could change things. Days became weeks. The station's systems began to fail one by one. The air recyclers were working at half capacity. The medical facilities were running out of supplies. People became thin and tired. And yet, no one surrendered. Then Commander Kyung-Soo made a decision that changed everything. "We are going to steal from them," he announced to Tayo and his senior officers. "The Dominion has docked 3 supply ships to the station. They contain medical supplies, ammunition, and food. We are going to get it all." "That is suicide," one officer said. "Probably," Kyung-Soo agreed. "But what is the alternative? We sit here and starve slowly? No. We fight. That is what humans do. We fight until we cannot fight anymore." He chose Lieutenant Ji-Woo to lead the mission. Ji-Woo was young and eager and had nothing to lose but his life, which seemed like a small price compared to what they were already losing every day. He gathered 15 soldiers, suited up in emergency spacesuits, and attached to magnetic lines that would take them from the station to the docked Dominion ships. It was chaos and danger, and somehow it worked. Ji-Woo and his team moved like ghosts through the vacuum of space, silent and impossible. They reached the Dominion ships, cut their way inside, gathered supplies in large containers, and disappeared back into Meridian Station before the Dominion even realized what was happening. "We got most of it," Ji-Woo reported, breathing hard, his suit filled with blood from a cut on his forehead. "We have medical supplies, ammunition, and enough food for 2 more months." Tayo wanted to thank him, but did not have the words. "How do you thank someone for risking death to bring back supplies?" Words seemed too small for it. Then the Dominion did something unexpected. The Supreme Legate Vorsh broadcast a message directly to Tayo. "You have fought well," Vorsh said, his voice calm and confident. "Your people have demonstrated courage. But courage cannot stop starvation or the decay of your equipment. I am offering you a choice. Surrender yourself personally, and I will allow your people to live and be released. I want you, Captain. Your surrender will be a symbol of humanity's defeat, a message to the galaxy that the Dominion cannot be resisted." Kyung-Soo was furious when he heard this. "It is a trap," he said immediately. "Vorsh wants you alive so he can parade you in front of cameras. He wants to break human spirit." But Tayo was thinking about the people on the station. He was thinking about the children and the elderly and the workers who had nothing to do with war or politics. He was thinking about the thin faces he saw every day, the slow dying that was happening in the shadows. "If I surrender," Tayo said slowly, "then at least my people live. That is not a defeat. That is a choice." "No," Hai-Ji said. She had been silent until now, but now she stood up. "We do not surrender. We keep fighting, because the threat is coming. Namra detected it. It is getting closer. We just have to hold on a little longer." "How much longer?" Tayo asked. "We do not know what this threat is. We do not know if it will help us or destroy us as well." "We have to trust," Hai-Ji said. "We have to trust that the universe is not completely unfair. We have to trust that something good is coming to balance out all this bad." After a long moment of silence, Tayo nodded. "We continue fighting." but the decision was made for him by events beyond their control. The next morning, Dominion soldiers cut through the station's hull with plasma torches. They were coming inside, taking the station by force. The surrender deadline had passed. Teo armed himself, knowing that he would probably die in the next few hours. Around him, the people of Meridian Station prepared to fight one final time. The water was still cut off, the power was failing, their ammunition was limited, and yet they stood ready. That was when the alarms changed, a new kind of alarm, a joyful alarm. A message came through on the communication system, and this time it was not weak or broken. This time it was strong and clear and full of hope. Meridian Station, this is Admiral Sung Ho of the Human Expeditionary Fleet. We are entering weapons range now. The Dominion ships are ours to destroy. Hold on. We are here. Humanity is here. In that moment, despite the exhaustion and the fear and the dying, something lifted in the chests of everyone on Meridian Station. They were no longer alone. The cavalry had arrived, and the real battle was about to begin. The human fleet arrived like a storm. 12 large warships came through space faster than the Dominion thought possible, and they opened fire before the Dominion ships could even respond. The first volley of human weapons tore through Dominion shields, like knives through paper. Admiral Sung Ho had learned something important about human advantage. Humans were not stronger than the Dominion. They did not have bigger ships or better weapons. But humans had one gift that no other species seemed to possess. Humans were willing to do crazy things. Sung Ho's tactic was simple but brutal. He flew his ships directly at the Dominion fleet, ignoring all rules of space warfare that the Dominion had learned over centuries. He attacked from angles that made no sense, with weapons that were never supposed to work together, with tactics that were dangerous and foolish and absolutely brilliant. The human flagship, called the Indomitable Dawn, came right through the middle of the Dominion formation. Its captain, Huan Su, was a lean man with quick eyes and hands that never hesitated. He ordered his weapons officers to fire on everything, to saturate the space with energy and light and destruction. "Full power to weapons," he commanded. "Use the station as cover. Use their own ships to block their fire." The Dominion commander, whose name was Zek, watched in shock as his ordered, careful battlefield turned into chaos. Nothing was where it should be. Nothing followed any kind of reasonable pattern. Human ships were sacrificing themselves to damage Dominion vessels. Human pilots were flying into danger without hesitation. It was as if the humans did not care about survival. They only cared about winning. Inside Meridian Station, Kyung-Soo understood what was happening. He immediately ordered his people to begin sabotage operations on the Dominion soldiers who were cutting through the hull. "They are coming inside," he told his officers. "But our fleet is here now, and they are winning. We need to prevent those soldiers from taking critical sections of the station. Fight them. Slow them down. Every moment we delay them is a moment our fleet uses to destroy their ships." The battle inside and outside the station became one terrible symphony of violence. Outside, human and Dominion ships crashed into each other, weapons firing, explosions blooming like flowers of fire. Inside, human soldiers and Dominion invaders fought in the corridors of Meridian Station, using guns and blades and their bodies to gain ground. Teo stood in the command center with Heiji watching the battle unfold on screens and sensors. He was not a soldier, but the uniform he wore suddenly felt heavier, more real. In the distance, he could hear the sounds of combat. Real people were dying right now, bleeding real blood, making real sacrifices. "Admiral Sung Ho wants to speak with you," Heiji said, giving him a communication device. Teo activated it. Admiral Sung Ho's voice came through, strong and determined. "Captain Teo," Sung Ho said, "I have read the reports from Commander Kyung-Soo. He says you have been holding this station with no supplies, no water, and almost no hope. This is impressive. We are going to break the siege, but to do this, we need your help. Can your people conduct sabotage operations on the docked Dominion vessels? Yes, Teo said immediately. Commander Kyung-soo's people are trained for this. Good, Sung-ho replied. Then we will coordinate. When my sensors show me that their shields are down, your people will plant explosives inside their ships. We will destroy them from outside. Together, we will break the Dominion circle. The plan was dangerous and complex and required perfect timing. But it worked. As human ships attacked from outside, causing Dominion vessels to respond and redirect their shields, Kyung-soo's soldiers moved through the station and onto the docked ships. They placed charges on fuel lines, on power systems, on anything that would cause maximum damage. Then, all at once, everything exploded. The Dominion ships that were docked to Meridian Station tore themselves apart from the inside. Their hulls burst open, their weapons went silent, and the Dominion soldiers who were still inside those ships trying to fight their way into the station died in those explosions. In the vacuum of space, the Dominion fleet began to break apart. Their careful formations became scattered and panicked. Admiral Sung-ho pressed his advantage, moving his ships in ways that continued to confuse and damage his enemies. One by one, Dominion warships were destroyed or disabled. Then Supreme Legate Vorsh made his last decision. If we are going to lose, Vorsh commanded, then we will take the station with us. His ship, the largest of the Dominion vessels, began moving directly toward Meridian Station. Vorsh had decided that if he could not have the station, no one would. He was going to ram it, to crash into it at full speed, to destroy everything. Commander Kyung-soo saw this happening. For a moment, he was paralyzed by the impossible choice. He could not evacuate the station. The shuttle bays were damaged. He could not stop the ship. No weapon could stop something that large moving at that speed, and then he understood what he had to do. Lieutenant Ji-woo, he commanded, get everyone to the evacuation decks. Now, that is an order. Kyung-soo grabbed a spacesuit and moved toward the docking bay. He was going to do something that humans had always been good at doing. He was going to do the impossible. Ji-woo tried to stop him. Commander, there has to be another way. There is not, Kyung-soo said. His voice was calm and final. I am giving you a direct command, Lieutenant. Go, protect the others. Kyung-soo launched himself into space in a suit barely suited for that environment. He flew toward the incoming Dominion ship. He was pulling explosives from his pack as he moved, setting charges on the massive vessel's hull. He ran out of time before he could run out of explosives. The explosion, when it came, was not large enough to stop the ship, but it was large enough to change its trajectory. The Dominion vessel missed the station by meters, its massive hull creating a wind of radiation and fire as it passed by. Commander Kyung-soo died in that explosion, scattered across the darkness of space, but he died knowing that he had saved thousands of lives. When the shooting finally stopped, most of the Dominion fleet was destroyed. Some ships tried to escape, jumping to faster-than-light speed and disappearing into the void. The rest, damaged and broken and hopeless, surrendered to Admiral Sung-ho's fleet. Meridian Station was still there, still standing, still alive. Teo stood on the command deck and looked out at the wreckage of Dominion ships. At the human vessels that had fought so bravely, at the stars beyond that continued to shine with perfect indifference to the suffering below. We won, Haeji whispered beside him. Yes, Teo said, but the cost was very high. Admiral Sung-ho's fleet began moving toward Meridian Station to provide repairs and medical support. The siege was over. The Dominion threat had been broken. But victory, Teo was learning, was not as sweet as defeat was bitter. The weeks following the battle were filled with activity. Medical ships arrived, bringing doctors and supplies. Human engineers began repairs to Meridian Station, working in teams to fix the massive damage that weeks of siege and warfare had caused. The bodies of the dead were gathered and prepared for burial with full military honors. A memorial service was held in the main plaza of Meridian Station. Hundreds of people gathered, both human and alien, to remember those who had died. Commander Kyung-soo was honored as a hero. Lieutenant Ji-woo, still recovering from injuries, could barely stand as he received a medal for his actions during the siege. But there were other names on the memorial, too. Names of soldiers and workers and people who had simply been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Minister Kwon-sun arrived on one of the transport ships from human space. She was a political official, responsible for handling relations with other species and managing the human government's interests in foreign territories. She was a tall woman with intelligent eyes and a voice that commanded respect without raising volume. One of her first actions was to meet with Tayo and Admiral Sung-ho. They gathered in a private conference room on the station, one that had been hastily repaired and cleaned. "I have read the full reports," Kwon-sun said, her fingers moving through data on a transparent screen. "Both military reports from Admiral Sung-ho and diplomatic reports from you, Captain Tayo. The situation is clear. The Dominion attempted to conquer this station through military force and violated every neutral space agreement that governs this region. We are completely justified in our response." "What about the survivors?" Tayo asked. "There were Dominion soldiers on the station. Now they are prisoners. What do we do with them?" "They will be processed," Kwon-sun said. "Some may be exchanged for human prisoners held by other Dominion forces. Some may be tried for war crimes. The legal process will be complex, but that is not my immediate concern." She turned to Admiral Sung-ho. "Your tactical response was brilliant, Admiral. Unconventional, but brilliant. Using the station as a shield, coordinating with ground forces, sacrificing vessels to create advantages. This is not how most species fight. Most species fight with patience and order. Humans fight with chaos and desperation." "It is the only way we know how to fight," Sung-ho said. "We are young in space. We do not have the experience or the resources to fight fair. So we do not fight fair." Kwon-sun nodded. "This is good. The galaxy respects strength. Humanity is now perceived as stronger than before. But the most important discovery came from Dr. Namra. She had continued her investigation into the encrypted Dominion messages, and after days of work, she had finally broken through the final layers of encryption. What she found shocked everyone. She came to Tayo's quarters with a data disk in her hand. She was trembling slightly, her large alien eyes wide with understanding. "I have decoded the full message," Namra said. "The message that Commander Sek sent to the Dominion leadership during the siege. I know why the Dominion attacked us. I know why they were so desperate." "Tell me," Tayo said. "The Dominion is not as strong as we believed," Namra explained. She placed the disk into the communication system, and words appeared on the screen. "The Dominion is losing a war with something from the galactic core, something very old. Something very large." "What is it?" Tayo asked. "The Dominion messages do not identify it specifically," Namra said, "but they call it the Convergence. There are hints that it is a civilization, or perhaps many civilizations united together. The Dominion has been trying to expand into this region, including taking human space, because they are retreating. They are trying to gather resources and territory before this convergence arrives." Tayo felt the weight of this understanding settle on his shoulders. "The Dominion attacked us not because they were confident, but because they were afraid." "Yes," Namra confirmed. "Cornered animals are the most dangerous." But there was more. Namra had also decoded something else, something even more important. She showed them a specific message, one that had been sent to Vorsh weeks before the attack. "Before Vorsh came to negotiate with you," Namra said, He was ordered by the Dominion High Command to take this station one way or another. He was told that failure was not an option. That is why negotiation was never real. That is why they attacked. Teo understood now. Vorsh had been forced to attack, not by desire but by command. The Dominion leadership, threatened by this mysterious convergence, had required Vorsh to secure the region. And when that had failed, they had abandoned him, leaving him to be destroyed. In the days that followed, Tai O and Hai Ji worked with Minister Quan Soon to establish new alliances. They met with representatives from several alien species who had been neutral or even supporting the Dominion. Now, with the Dominion weakened, these species were interested in changing sides. "An alliance with humanity has proven valuable," Quan Soon explained to these alien leaders. "Humanity fights hard. Humanity does not give up. If you join with us, you will have protection. If you oppose us, you will face the same fate as the Dominion." It was political maneuvering, but it was also honest. Humanity had proven itself through action. Now other species were beginning to believe that humanity might be a stronger ally than the Dominion. But Teo was thinking about something else. He was thinking about Dr. Namra and what she had revealed to him about her actions. He met with her in private, in the hydroponics bay where Sujin was tending the coffee plant. They stood together looking at the green leaves and the small flowers that had appeared in recent weeks. "You helped save us," Teo said to Namra, "with the sensor data, with the encrypted messages. You risked everything." "I could not let them lie," Namra said. "I am a scientist. Scientists seek truth. The Dominion was built on lies. I could not support that." "There is something else you are not telling me," Teo said. "Something you did before the attack, before we were rescued." Namra was silent for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was very quiet. "I modified the communication system," she said. "I amplified the distress signal. I used a technique that humans had discovered but the Dominion had never seen before. I pushed your signal through space faster than it should have traveled. I knew they would punish me if they discovered what I had done, but I also knew that humanity needed to be saved. And I was right. Where is that technique?" Teo asked. "How is that possible?" "I am not completely sure," Namra admitted. "It uses a quantum principle that I discovered years ago, but I only had time to implement it once, and then I was discovered by Dominion patrols while trying to conceal my work. They killed me before I could explain it to anyone." Teo felt something cold move through him. "Killed you? But you are standing here. You are alive." Namra smiled sadly. "I am alive now. But I was not for several minutes. Your medical team revived me after they cleared the Dominion soldiers from this level. But without that time I bought with the modified signal, they would never have arrived in time. I would have stayed dead." A memorial was added to the station's honor wall. Dr. Namra's name was carved there, not as a soldier, but as a hero who gave everything for the cause of peace and freedom. When Teo looked at her name, he promised himself that her sacrifice would not be forgotten. Sujin, standing quietly in the corner, began harvesting the coffee plant. The beans were small and imperfect, but they were real, and they were grown on Meridian Station, and they tasted like survival. When Teo finally drank his first cup of coffee made from those beans, he wept. Not from the taste, though it was better than anything he had found in years, but from understanding what it meant. Those beans represented hope. They represented people working together to create something good in the midst of terrible suffering. They represented life persisting, growing, thriving, even when everything seemed impossible. Outside the station, repairs continued. Human ships worked alongside alien vessels. Old enemies were becoming new allies. And far away in the direction of the galactic core, something was moving. Something large and old and powerful. something that the Dominion feared so much that they had been willing to sacrifice everything. But that was a problem for another day. For now there was coffee to drink and friends to live with and memories to honor. For now, there was peace.